Insert your own Futurama, Back to the Future Part 2, or Disney attraction joke here. Now, I wasn't really sure what to think about this film when I first saw the trailers. On one hand, it's Disney trying to bring another park attraction to the silver screen. On the other, it's directed by Brad Bird, the man who brought us The Incredibles and The Iron Giant. Going in, I was immediately struck by a few parallels I saw between this film and Christopher Nolan's Interstellar. We're given a world that's become overrun by doomsayers and apocalyptic aspirations, with the main character being seen as one of the last dreamers, one of the last optimists looking to the stars. At first, it seems a little bit patronizing. It also comes across as a scathing commentary on how we've become obsessed with avoiding the oncoming dystopian future, as well as the looming threat of climate change and World War III. But when I thought about it, I realized that it's not that different from the kind of things people were fearing back during the Cold War, the looming threat of espionage, nuclear war, and the breakdown of society. Sound familiar? However, while Interstellar kept a fairly hard and grim tone, Tomorrowland is a bit softer in its approach, as it also crafts a very loving homage to space-age science fiction and even the optimistic nature of these older stories. It has a very Gene Roddenberry vibe to it. That said, while the softer approach makes it easier for younger audiences to digest the ideas presented, the film is not without its really clever moments, as it raises a few questions and ideas that are worth talking about. I don't want to go into too much detail since it would pretty much go into spoiler territory, because this film heavily relies on the overall mystery of Tomorrowland. When it comes to the technical aspects of the film, it looks amazing. Brad Bird knows what he wants in an image, and it really shows, since many of the shots in this film would look right at home in an animated film. It kind of proves that all directors should probably be animators first because, well, he has a clear idea what he's doing. The writing and the pacing in this film is also really top-notch as you're pulled further and further into the mystery. What also helps is the fact that the characters, even the more fantastical ones, are written very believably and also have distinct personalities that make them identifiable. The acting of this film helps with that, and I really have to give some props to Rafi Cassidy. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, I'm sorry if I'm butchering it, but her role was something that called for subtlety and it needed to be underplayed, and she handled that role perfectly. I mean, the idea of having a character be underplayed, but still be likable, that's hard even for an adult actor to do, let alone a child actor, and so she did a really good job. I was actually really amazed by her performance. Despite the high praise I've been giving this film, there is one criticism I do have to level against it. That criticism is that it takes a long while for the stakes to really be established. I mean, yes, much of the film is reliant on mystery, but you can tell that the people writing this film weren't exactly sure how to write the ending. As such, the ending they came up with, while being fairly intelligent, was a little bit iffy. I mean, they tried going for some sort of huge climax, but it just felt kind of tacked on because really the main thing with this film and why it doesn't necessarily work for the usual Disney mold is that there is no clear villain. There is no big one looming crisis to resolve. It's dealing with something that's a bit more nebulous. And while I do applaud the film for actually trying to go down that route and say that there isn't one big grand solution to all of the world's problems, they got kind of hampered trying to have that come across with the typical Disney formula of having to have some sort of big epic action scene at the very end. Again, A for effort, but I don't know, it just felt like they just couldn't find a way to have it be a satisfactory ending that kids could understand, which is tough, it's tricky. Overall, this is an enjoyable film and is one of the better live-action films that Disney has produced in recent history. And no, before you comment, I am not counting the Marvel movies. I just want to make that clear outright. So, simply put, if you enjoyed films like The Iron Giant, or even science fiction films like Interstellar or The Last Mimsy, then I recommend you check this film out because it's very similar, especially to The Last Mimsy, and how it tries to promote a more optimistic message without having some sort of looming singular crisis or singular villain to resolve. And I think The Last Mimsy actually handles it a little bit better, because it at least makes it clear what the thing is being sent back in time to retrieve. But I'll talk about that film later, maybe as an episode of From the Shelf when I finally finish it. Anyway, all of that said, Tomorrowland gets a 4 out of 5.